The GAMA Expo is the premier trade show in the tabletop gaming industry, and myself, Lindsay, and of course Lil B recently traveled to Louisville in the US to check it out. In this video, we're going to be taking you through our journey to the GAMA Expo, talk about what we saw there, why it's interesting for the tabletop gaming industry, and maybe highlight some things that we're very excited about.
Traveling was quite the spectacle, I would say. We were loaded up with luggage. Not only did we have to bring the booth on the plane, but we also loaded up 6 suitcases full of all the tiles, all the tablecloths, and everything that we needed for the actual setup to run the booth.
I had a lady come up to me and was like, "Do you play an instrument?" And I was like, no. This is a booth.
GAMA stands for the Game Manufacturing Association, and it's a conglomerate of many different people in the gaming industry, from distributors to publishers to game designers to media and content creators. It's basically this giant organization where we can all organize together, share resources, share information, and at least once per year, get together to discuss the going-ons in the industry. Last year was my first time visiting GAMA, and I had an absolute blast. I learned so much about how all of this works and comes to be, and this year I brought along Lindsay and Lil B to check it on out. We had a few things in mind. We first of all had a Titans Terrain booth where we were talking to retailers and discussing the exciting reasons they might want to have our pop-up terrain in store. We were also excited to discuss with companies the potential of using our paint studio and seeing what we can do for them, along with, of course, looking for exciting new games and collaborators for the upcoming year. I do dare say we found a little bit of all three of those in our time there. As we mentioned, of course, GAMA is a trade show. This isn't for folks just going to buy a single card game or a board game. This is people looking to get their stock into people's stores or make big deals and discuss big moves in the industry. So it was kind of fun discussing and hearing from other people who either create terrain or products or books or games and really learning what they do.
Everyone's there. You know, it's not just the manufacturers, the retailers, and the publishers. It's the people that want to learn how to make games and like publish their games and get, you know, just at all levels of the creation of these games.
I learned a ton at GAMA. There was so many things that you just never think about in the industry, and so when you can kind of peek behind the curtain and get a glimpse of all the gears and all the cogs that have to turn in order to make this giant machine work.
The first 3 days of the convention is traditionally filled with meetings and seminars where people can share their expertise. I had the distinct pleasure of actually presenting on the stuff that we do here, talking about how we tell the story of tabletop games through video. We have to be the heroes and the villains. Someone is super important to us is building robust communities. So I think it's totally okay to start to introduce those. The thing you have to be careful about.
Well, first off, the most interesting one that we went to was Adrian's.
Debatable.
Trying to suck up here.
He
okay?
made me an unwilling participant.
He did. Hey, I think that was a great move, though. But other than Adrian's, one of the more interesting ones that I went to was on social media. Learned a lot from it.
Probably my first seminar that I attended was probably my favorite and this was on competitive pricing and how to like price out your games and or products that you're trying to sell. And the reason I liked it so much is because there's a lot of different layers when you're looking at pricing, and it should go without saying, but it's more than just slapping a number on a thing. There's a lot of price comparisons to similar items that you're trying to suss out, and then also the different price points that make it more likely or less likely for somebody to buy your product, that all have to kind of go into consideration.
So of course, while we were at GAMA, there is the exhibit floor, which was just the final 2 days, funny enough. And this was the chance to basically show off products or services or things like that. And this is like bigger, wider space than you can ever possibly imagine. If you've been to the Las Vegas Open, like the giant Warhammer room where 1,000 people play Warhammer, this is about 4x that, I think.
Yeah.
When we walked in, it was like literally nauseating how big the space was before it got filled in with this just city of exhibition booths.
There's a bunch of cool stuff at GAMA. I was kind of overwhelmed with the amount of things actually when I was walking up and down the rows and going to all the booths. I think one of the things that I'm actually personally very excited about is a game called Xenogenesis, which is a tabletop miniatures game, kind of a sci-fi game. Similar aesthetic to Infinity, I would say. Different game, obviously, but it's going to be coming out later this year, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. One of them that I spoke to that we were very excited to communicate with was Archon Studios. They're a company based out of Poland, and they do all of their manufacturing in-house, and they do a lot of miniatures, and they also do like terrain, and actually specifically pre-painted terrain. It's actually printed on. It's like they have dungeon tiles for D&D, they have just a bunch of random things that really work in the D&D setting that I think is really, really interesting. And they also have some phenomenal miniatures as well, and they were really kind, and they actually sent us home with a few things.
One of the cool things we got to do at GAMA was try out the brand new Project K, which is Riot's new card game that they've been working on, set in, of course, the League of Legends setting. And it was cool, so we got to meet up with the team and try it out, play some games. Lindsay played one of the team, and Brian and I went head to head.
So I got to play Project K, which I really enjoyed. I played 2 different decks. A big monsters deck that just that gets all the big monsters out and punches hard, which was great. And that was my first game, which was really nice. I love that they have this battlefield section on their board, and that's where all the fighting happens.
It was a really fun mix of different styles of mechanics blended, I think, in a really interesting modern way. So like, if I wanted to be reductive, I could say, you know, there was like the 2 battlegrounds, which are in kind of Pokemon-esque, where you're kind of fighting over those. And then there's like this kind of Hearthstone style mana that grows, but then you also, it doesn't grow infinitely, so you don't have the point where you're just like, well, I'm just like slapping down 10 cards.
My whole hand is just on the table.
Right, exactly. You burn those. So I'm excited to see more. We even went back for more, played it again at game night.
We did, yeah.
Every night at GAMA is game night. Of course, this was the chance for companies and publishers to show off their new products. They kind of get fierce feedback on things. And so every night between the hours of 8 to 11, midnight, you know, and so on and so forth, people would just come in and play all these games. You would, if you played a game, you then also got a little drink token, you go to the bar. It was a really, really fun time, and also is where a lot of the business of GAMA gets done, because it's just people chatting. Everyone's not necessarily on the clock having to work a booth or this, that, and other thing. It was great, just like trying new things, meeting people, getting ideas, and it was really fun. Also seemed very appropriate for the game manufacturers, you know, Expo. Like, this is what we do. Oh, we're all done for the day?
Let's go play games.
Let's go play games.
Yeah. On the last night, we ended up playing the new Warmachine, and we had a great time. I rolled real bad, as is tradition with any game that I play, but I actually really enjoyed the mechanics of it, and I like the way that you kind of track a lot of the things in the game. So I'm pretty stoked to see if we could potentially make something happen with it.
And that is the GAMA Expo. Of course, very exciting stuff going on, and maybe a little bit of a preview of future projects we're trying to do this year. Let me know in the comments below if you're interested in checking it out, if this video was helpful, and if you want to see any more behind the scenes videos from us. That's gonna do it for us. I'll catch y'all next time on the tabletop. Bye!